UC Davis's Director of Athletics, Rocko DeLuca, joins us on the Big Mountain.
Conference realignment and expansion are always in the news, so we're back on the Big Mountain with a very special interview.
Hey, welcome back to the Big Mountain. I am JY. This is my good friend Steve. We continue 2025 bringing you lots of interesting interviews. This time we have Director of Athletics with UC Davis, Rocko DeLuca, to join us here on the Big Mountain to talk about the Aggies and their move to the Mountain West. So let's get right into it. We're so fortunate to have UC Davis AD Rocko DeLuca with us here on the Big Mountain. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, guys, for having me on this afternoon. We appreciate it.
Well, we really appreciate your time here coming onto the Big Mountain. We've had a few of the what will be the new members to the Mountain West that we've talked to. We're excited, again, that you're going to be giving us some of your time. And, we're Mountain West focused. So, we want to get our Mountain West fans to better know UC Davis here, maybe than what they already do. So we'll talk about the university. Of course, we'll talk about athletics. I want to talk about football and, of course, give you an opportunity just to tell everyone about the university. Really excited to have UC Davis joining the Mountain West here in about a year, little more than a year here. Yeah. Time starts to fly here. But I do want to quickly just say congratulations. I saw the headlines here recently, just given a 5-year extension. So that's fantastic. Just want to congratulate you.
No, thanks. I think it speaks volumes to the work we're doing here within our athletic department and being able to have that continuity as we enter the new Mountain West here in just over a year, as you mentioned, and we're looking forward to it.
Great. Well, let's dive into, UC Davis as a whole, the university. Obviously, you started there back in 2016 as a deputy AD, then took over as the full athletic director here in 2021. And for those that I think know, but for those that don't, UC Davis, just outside of Sacramento, California there, really known as one of the best public universities in the country. I believe undergraduate enrollment of about 32,000. Can you just give us a bird's eye view of the university as a whole, and also kind of what student life is like there on campus?
You bet. Yeah, we're proud to be, a top 5 public school nestled here between San Francisco and the Tahoe region. And what's really fun for me is we're kind of a humble ag school, and we're trying to shed that layer of humbleness and be able to tell our story on a national scale. And really, that's sort of the impetus on our move into the Mountain West. But when you have the nation's #1 vet school, the nation's #1 ag school, we're heavy in engineering and some of the other STEM majors. It really is a unique story that we have to tell. And when you combine that with the powerhouse research as a part of the UC system, we are kind of this sleepy giant out here. And thankfully, we are going to have an opportunity to expand and grow our brand in the mountain region. And I think that's the biggest piece for us is that with over 40,000 total students, you mentioned our 32,000 undergraduates, we got 28,000 employees on this campus. So we are a very big enterprise, almost $7.8 billion total budget this next year, which I wish my athletics was a percentage of that, a little higher. But we are really proud to represent all the great research and innovation that happens on this campus and extend that brand on a national scale, given our athletic footprint really covers the entire country. So I think when we look at athletics and the role it plays on this campus, we really do lean into academics first, no surprise. 38% of our student athletes are involved in STEM majors, so they're competing in the classroom and involved in campus life. We are really the only true college town in California, and so that also provides a unique blend. I was at the University of Colorado in Boulder, and that town-gown relationship is important, and we do have that here at Davis. And I think the other part that we really hang our hat on is the collaboration between the academic side and athletics, and we really try to lean into what really is a mutually beneficial partnership between athletics and the academic and research side of the institution. So that's manifested by my boss, Chancellor Gary May, who's fully supportive of athletics while also leading a really big enterprise.
Yeah, a lot of items there that you hit on that we're going to dive into a little bit more as we go through our discussion here. You mentioned kind of early on the sleeping giant, if you will, and I kind of see that from the Mountain West, kind of some of the schools they've added. I mean, we've talked about UTEP. I feel like they've been a bit of a sleeping giant in that area as well. And so it's just exciting to see some of these new schools, new members coming into this conference and kind of giving this new energy and excitement, I think, from what they currently have. And the other piece, I mean, the research that you talked about, I think that, when I went in to start researching UC Davis a little bit more, as you're going to become a Mountain West member, that was the thing that I think I saw at the very forefront was just massive research university. And I love the part about College Town. You talk to some of these schools and, do they have a lot of students that live on campus? Are they a college town? What exactly is the university? So I think that's a really interesting piece there as well. One more item on that. I just want to ask you, we've been following Sacramento State here recently as well. Of course, they've made a lot of headlines about them, pushing for FBS and funding and things like that. I mean, Davis is clearly very, very close to Sacramento. I mean, do you consider yourself part of the Sacramento just hub there in terms of being where you guys are at, or how is that feeling there between Davis and Sacramento?
Yeah, I say the feeling is a mutually respectful rival, right? UC Davis is the largest employer in the Sacramento region. So we do consider ourselves to be part of that DMA for sure.
Yeah.
And I just think that the two institutions are very similar in terms of our competitive footprint. But at the same time, I think we both operate in just two unique ways, right? And that's sort of embodied in how we dealt with our sort of pursuits of growing as an athletic department versus sort of what they're engaged with right now. But I think they both, when done right, both schools, when they're successful on the athletic front, really uplift the entire community. And even as we transition into the Mountain West, Mark Orr and I have talked about maintaining our Causeway rivalry and just making sure that we continue to have the two schools compete as often as we can. Even though, we'll see how that process takes place for them.
Yeah, for sure. And rivalry is something that people talk about maybe losing a little bit of here in the new conference realignment environment that we're in. And I know even Mountain West schools, I'm a Wyoming Cowboy fan, so they got the border war there with Colorado State, Fresno, San Jose State. There's certain just natural rivalries that you always try to keep, at least for as long as you can. So I appreciate you at least, bringing up that piece here with Sacramento State.
Yeah, it's important for us because I think that's one of the few things that we have that differentiates us from pro sports, right? And even as we're pivoting to the pro sports model, and I try to bring life to it, and I've kind of toned it down this year on social media a little bit, but I love throwing a little shade when we do beat Sac State because it should mean something for our fan base and our student athletes.
For sure. Well, we're talking athletics. I believe you have 25 varsity sport programs that you sponsor. Saw some news here in 2024, 93% graduation success rate there, top 10 in the nation. Again, can you give us maybe an overall feel for the athletic program? Certainly 25 varsity sports. That's a lot of programming that you have, kind of overview or control over there. Can you just talk more about your athletic programming?
Sure. Yeah, we're really proud to have one of the largest broad-based athletic departments, certainly at the FCS level in the country. And I think when you have almost 700 student athletes pursuing degrees at, again, one of the best institutions in America, it's easy to get kind of caught up in the athletic success without recognizing all the hard work that it takes from our support staff, our coaches, and all the academic folks we have on campus to support the athletic or the academic excellence that we do have. And I think that 93% success rate does mean a lot to us. We take a lot of pride in that. But we also are one of the few areas, as we're recruiting young people, we don't limit majors. So we take great pride. If you want to be an engineer, you can be an engineer. If you want to do pre-vet, you could do pre-vet. And what that does is that takes practice time and sometimes complicates practice schedules for our coaches. But rather than fight that, we embrace that. And there are very, very few places in America that have, again, almost 40% of their student athletes in STEM majors that require labs and all of the extra learning. But we also have some unique sports where we have men's water polo, women's water polo, lacrosse is in the Big 12. And, we really do try to find the highest level of competition available for those programs. We don't shy away from that. And we also don't shy away from sort of complicated things. Like we added equestrian and beach volleyball in 2018, and we could have picked maybe an easier sport than equestrian, but we really wanted something that fit our department, our campus, tied into the vet med piece, but also competing in the ECAC extends our brand across the entire country. And I just think that it's a unique piece, but last year we had, for the first time in our Division I era, every fall program made postseason. This year, women's basketball was in the championship game in the Big West. Today, we just celebrated our gymnastics team returning to the NCAAs for the first time since 2014. So we've had a really good year of successful results athletically, but at the end of the day, the sort of blue collar grit and grind that our student athletes embody really start with how focused they are on getting a world-class education here when they come to UC Davis.
Two items that I saw that I believe you started both of these and just your engagement with the student athletes, one being the Ignite program and another one is your Captain's Council that I believe you set up there. Can you talk about those two programs here just a little bit?
Yeah, Ignite's our strategic plan that we put in place about 2 years ago. And ironically, here in the next couple of days, we'll be kind of reconstituting the committees under the 5 pillars that we have. Just, some of the goals we had set with that were really focused on Big West sports and what some of those benchmarks were. So we got to recalibrate here and change some of those with the change in our competition. But really, Ignite is our guiding principle piece that has a ton of details in the back end, but it's really to hold our entire staff accountable for where we're trying to take this department. This isn't UC Davis athletics done at sort of Rocko's way. It's really a group exercise as I'm the steward of this great department, but all the work gets done at a level below or many levels below me sometimes. And it's a way for that document to exist, to have accountability and buy-in. And so that's what Ignite is. And then for our student athletes, with having 25 sports and again, 700 of them, I really wanted to give them a vehicle to be able to, I have an open door policy. It's rare I see them come in my door. So the Captain's Council is just a way for me to check in regularly with them in addition to our SAC group. And I use that as a sounding board just again to get a pulse on how we're doing throughout the department across the entire enterprise, whether it be sports med, sports psych, nutrition, equipment, because you never know what young people might find to be an opportunity for us to make their experience better.
Yeah, great. And I'm sure they love the opportunity to have your attention and bring some ideas hopefully up that can help further UC Davis's programming. I want to talk about financials here. You mentioned them early on at the university level. And over the past several years, just seeing massive growth or growth over the athletic budget here. I believe ticket sales are up, contributions are up. Other key metrics are up as well. Annual budget, I believe, is about 50 million. Can you speak to, kind of how that's been achieved since your, time here at UC Davis, how that growth has been achieved and any future plans you may have?
Yeah, I think it's no secret that you have success where you actually invest and are intentional. And so we've been really intentional in our revenue areas just because that's the one part of our department that we actually can control most of that effort and work. And I think to our fans and donors' credit, they've responded. And so I think that our coaches' leadership, our fans' investments, and the staff's efforts have really helped us have double-digit growth in some of those key areas. Again, ticket sales has been up almost 40% this year. We've had near record-setting donations in our annual giving program this year, and we're about ready to hit in a couple of weeks. We'll do another kind of a 24-hour give day program where we try to lead campus in the number of gifts made, not because we want to be the best, but we just want to continue to prove to our campus partners that athletics can be sort of a gateway to supporting other areas of campus. And as we gather and engage and draw those eyeballs to the institution, there are plenty of life-changing things that happen on this campus that people can invest in. And so I think the parts for us as we look to the future are just trying to figure out how we navigate multimedia rights, additional ticket sales, and again, close the gap. As I have to remind my staff, there's some schools and the Cowboys are one of those that have a couple decades head start on us in philanthropy and ticket sales and fan base building, that we've got to close that gap, but it's not going to happen overnight.
Sure.
So I have a follow-up there.
Yeah.
On that, just the financials, and JY had talked to you about having the 25 athletic programs. So as you move into this new phase and as college athletics transitions, and we're going to get to some questions later about some of the other big changes, but how hard do you hold to that 25? I mean, that's a lot of programs for, and you guys have a pretty sizable budget. Are you committed moving forward to keeping that 25, or do you see an area, do you see where you may have to trim the budget to keep up with modern expectations for an athletic department?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, the use of modern. I'm not sure what the future is going to hold for any of us, right? And I think the reality is currently my campus leadership and I are focused on the broad-based program I currently lead. At some point in time, if that changes due to financial pressures, that's going to be a decision that won't be mine to make alone. And the reality is, again, a reflection of this large public institution and our ambitions. Part of the reason we made this move is so we continue to invest and grow in our athletic enterprise rather than just try to stay neutral or even drop back. So I think our focus right now is on our 25 sports, and we will just see how we do here in the next, couple months, couple years. We got to take things. Higher ed is obviously in a dynamic time right now, so no promises on the future, but we're going to take the deck of cards we're dealt and play the hand we can.
So I have another follow-up to that. So our show, we cover the Big Ten and the Mountain West. So I'm the Big Ten guy. I'm plugged in with Penn State a little bit. When I talk to folks over there, because they have a lot of athletic programs, even for a Big Ten school.
Yep.
What I hear over there is the athletic department is kind of the best in-house marketing wing that you can have for a university, that the athletic department's kind of the front door to the university, getting the name out there, bringing visitors, whether for athletic events or, that just want to come there and play sports, that are maybe even non-scholarship athletes or maybe hoping for a scholarship. So how does that tie in for UC Davis? What is that understanding between the athletic department and your chancellor as far as how important the athletic department is to enrollment? You mentioned higher ed and problems. A lot of schools are worried about the enrollment cliff coming up. So how does that play into, hopefully dodging that enrollment cliff?
Yeah, I think it's, we're a little bit fortunate being a UC school here in California, where I'm not sure the institution faces the same pressure for enrollment that some of my peers have. That doesn't mean, though, that my chancellor doesn't understand the importance of athletics and the value we provide, again, on a national scale in terms of our marketing and again, just exposing people to who UC Davis is. I think that's the part for me that's exciting, having grown up on the Front Range of Colorado and understanding how many California transplants are now in Colorado, Arizona, And so there are people who understand the value of the UC education, who now, as we're regularly competing in the Mountain West, are going to be like, okay, maybe this is a place we need to have our son or daughter look to go to school. And I think that regular interaction, it's already causing a lift in our recruiting for student athletes, but I think it's also going to have a lift for our organization as we recruit freshman students from the Western states. And I know our director of admissions is excited about our move, and I think that's indicative of just how important that relationship between athletics and the academic side is, because we are a marketing tool for the institution, both positive and negative, depending on what may be happening.
That's true. And you know, you mentioned the transition here a little bit ago to the Mountain West. I'd like to talk about that a little bit more now. You know, as I believe everyone's aware, July 1st, 2026, UC Davis is going to be joining the Mountain West for all sports except football. Can you tell us how that decision kind of came about, what you were looking at there, and what made the Mountain West attractive to your university and your athletic programming?
Yeah, I think the piece for me is we had been just kind of keeping our ear to the ground for a while now on conference realignment. Obviously, as soon as USC and UCLA made their announcement, you knew things in the West were going to be unstable.
Yeah.
And I thought for us, again, as we're one of the few departments that's trying to close the gap, but the athletic academic side of the house, if we were really going to try to be competing at the highest level possible, then we needed to just make sure we were in contact with some of the conferences and others to know what was happening. So I would say for the better part of 14 months, we were engaged in kind of quietly exploring what was out there. I think things accelerated with the departure of the Mountain West schools to the Pac-12, and things really got moving there late in the calendar year when Gloria reached out, and we had a couple conversations just about what they were thinking related to UC Davis. The complications that I'm sure when you guys visited with her related to both conferences looking at FCS schools and kind of how they view that 2-year transition period, plus the politics with maybe some other conferences not wanting to elevate and add more people to the FBS trough right now. So I think the exciting part for us, the timing is right. I think more importantly, the fit for us competitively, geographically, I think philosophically, we all sort of have alignment. And for us to be in a league that has all those schools have the pressure of carrying football, albeit at FBS level, but in the Big West, we love competing in that league. But there's only one other peer of mine over in Cal Poly that has also the financial burden of a college football program. And so just that dynamic and the pressures and the decisions that we face on our campus versus those who don't have football, I just thought that the elevating the level of competition and getting us to a place where folks value athletics as well as academics was the right fit for us. And my chancellor and our campus leadership agreed with that. And I think we have a shared vision of what that is going to look like here at UC Davis, but also how it aligns with the Mountain West and what Commissioner Navarez is doing with her team.
Yeah, you mentioned about you did things quietly. I would say you did things more quietly than anyone else in conference realignment, because you know there's always those little nuggets. You know, there's certain people on the socials that hear things, and of course it sets the world on fire when you know a little nugget comes out. And I like to think we'd follow the Mountain West very, very closely. And you know, when the announcement came out that UC Davis was joining, I don't say it came out of nowhere, and I don't mean that negatively, but you mentioned how quietly things were done, and very apparent that it was done quietly. We talked to AD Center at UTEP, very similar there, you know, keeping things kind of in-house, telling only those that needed to know, because you know it's really not worth it to let the cat out of the bag too early. So you know I appreciate you bringing that up, because it was you know, again, a surprising welcome to see UC Davis joining the Mountain West. You also mentioned football. I do have to ask another question on that. Obviously, the part of the agreement with the Mountain West was made public, I believe, through a records request or something like that. And there's a portion in there that talks about this first consideration for football membership into the future. I mean, is it something that you think eventually that's what UC Davis would like to do? Again, I'm not saying a year from now, or you don't have to put any sort of timeline on that, but is that a goal of yours in the university to eventually at some point move to FBS in the football realm? I would assume, my assumption is yes, given what was in this entrance agreement, but would love to hear from you on that.
Yeah, I think the biggest part for me as it relates to that clause in our contract, I'll just say that it's important, as fast as we've accelerated our investments in our football enterprise over the past 5 years, that those investments are going to continue to grow. And our ambition is, again, to compete at the highest level possible. I think the reality is right now we're very proud members of the Big Sky for football. I think it's one of the best FCS conferences in the country. Obviously, we've got to do our part and try to help kick that door down and bring a trophy back to the Big Sky. So that's our focus right now. And I think the other part with football is it's a numbers game, right? And I need to be able to monetize our football program more similarly to my peers currently in Big Sky. And that may dovetail into some future conference move for football. But right now, we're quietly looking at a few capital projects around our stadium and just kind of looking at how can we position this so when the time comes that if I'm not sitting in the seat, somebody will have a decision to make at that point in time, and they'll have the ability to do that. Rather than I feel like right now, even if we got the call, we just don't have the stadium infrastructure to support the financial reality of what an FBS program actually takes.
Yeah, want to be, obviously, as you said, prepared for when that time comes. And facilities are going to be the next question, but you kind of nailed it there. Can you speak to facilities in general? The football stadium you mentioned, you're kind of looking, are there existing plans, or you're just kind of taking a look at what could be in the future, or where are you at with facilities there?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't say in trouble, but I know I riled up our fan base when I sort of posted on my social picture of a rendering that was done like in 2014. We're looking at our stadium expansion, but it's not to chase a number.
Yeah.
In terms of capacity, it's really just to try to provide some basic necessities that our current structure doesn't have. So some sort of premium seating elements, some sort of a little more functional press box facility, and also some hospitality space so we can have larger scale events and things. So for me, it's going to be sort of focused on high-end revenue generation, potentially getting half of my department out of a old facility on campus and putting them over here on our footprint. But we've got good bones. I'm currently in our Edwards Athletic Center that we just opened 2 years ago. That's a 52,000 square foot facility that houses our football program, both basketball programs, offices. But the weight room, the trainer room, I would put them up against almost anybody in our next conference. It's really well done. It's just we need to do a little more building there. And then on the University Credit Union side, that arena currently is operated under our student affairs folks with campus. So just trying to lean on them to help them understand, well, it's been okay doing certain things the Davis way, that we've got a gap to close there and how that venue operates on a day-to-day basis for scheduling, non-conference basketball scheduling specifically. And then my external revenue person, we've been going around kind of secret shopping Mountain West basketball this past year just to see how far off the mark we might be in terms of game presentation. And so by the time we're ready to tip the ball off in fall of 26, I think we're going to have some good answers to that. But for the stadium specifically, those big capital projects take some time. So that's why we're working on that right now.
Yeah, understandable. Last thing, question, comments that we have for you is regarding this new environment. Steve hit on this some here a little bit earlier, just this new NIL environment, revenue sharing. Do you have any sort of plans in the work for that? Where are you guys at right now in planning for what is, I guess, likely to be coming here with a house settlement?
Yeah, no, we do plan on opting in on the house settlement, but we are going to opt in the first year we're members of the Mountain West. We have, again, we've referenced how big we are. There would be quite a significant number of student athletes who would not be able to participate as athletes next fall if we actually had to abide by those roster limitations provided by House. So by waiting a year, it's going to allow those student athletes to matriculate from UC Davis, and then we'll also be able to fall in line. So we will be looking at some NIL activities supported through the department. We've got an outside collective that we're planning to have continue to exist for as long as it is able to support our student athletes and our coaches as we, again, adapt to this new world, but unfortunately just have to wait a year in the opt-in piece to do it centrally through the department.
Okay. Yep, that makes sense. Go ahead.
So I have a follow-up question on that. The narrative around NIL revenue sharing and the house settlement has been how much this is going to benefit the biggest, richest schools in the country. The USC, UCLA, Stanford, Cal, and the power programs. But as I see, we've talked with we talked with Sac State, we talked with Northern Illinois, we talked with UTEP. As you guys are in this transition phase where you're moving up to a bigger conference, do you look at NIL and revenue sharing as a burden? Like, does it keep you kind of awake at night, or do you look at this as, hey, we're moving up to the Mountain West. This is an opportunity. Is it scary? Is it kind of exciting? How do you feel UC Davis fits into this new world of NIL and revenue sharing?
Well, the reality is I look at it as a great opportunity because you look at our success we've had this year, and that's been doing way less than most of our peers in that space, right? And part of it's our fan base believes in what we're doing, but there's still I would say, a lag between adapting to the current financial reality that college athletics has and the need for outside support in those areas. But again, I think that we're going to be able to do things in sort of our way, but we're going to lean heavily into supporting our student athletes, investing in them to the extent we can. But we're going to continue to hang our hat on having one of the best student athlete experiences in the country. And so far that experience has outweighed some of the financial opportunities in the transfer portal for some of our key student athletes who develop their talent here and then, get a few knocks on the door, or a few DMs in their social media. So I think we're excited about our future. I think it's not going to change a whole lot from what it looks like today, but I think being able to support them more directly rather than the indirect things that have been happening before are going to be to our advantage rather than a negative.
Last thing, can you just tell viewers where can they find, whether they're donors, where can they go to find gift opportunities? I believe is it Aggie Edge? Is that one of the NIL?
Aggie Edge is our outside collective right now.
Okay.
In everything we do, we try to focus on UCDavisAggies.com is the best go-to place. We try to put everything on our social media channels as well. But yeah, I encourage all the folks who follow the Mountain West through your podcast and through the great work you guys are doing to keep your eyes on the Aggies, because we will be there, and certainly excited to speed up the calendar here before 2026.
Understand. We're excited to have you in the Mountain West. I'm anxious to learn more about UC Davis here over the next 16, 17 months as we gear up for your entrance into the conference. AD DeLuca, thank you so much for spending some time with us.
You bet. Guys, thank you very much for the platform. I'll enjoy following you. And yeah, we'll have to get you out to Davis, California, to see a little slice of heaven out here, okay?
Sounds great.
Love it. Thanks so much.
All right. Thanks, guys. Take care.
We again thank AD DeLuca for joining us here on The Big Mountain. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We will continue to dive into all things Mountain West, all things Big Ten, all things Pac-12, and conference realignment. Make sure you like this episode and subscribe if you like our content. We'll see you next time on The Big Mountain.